So you've just had a resignation or you have a vacancy and you're dreading trying to hire a person. If this sounds like you, then stick around because this video is exactly for you. I'm going to share 3 things to make this whole process way easier for you and how to attract the right candidates to your world so you're not slogging through piles and piles and piles of resumes of unqualified people. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Sadaf Sheikh and I talk about building and nurturing your high performance culture every single week on Tuesdays. If you are new, subscribe to the channel and make sure you hit the bell icon to get notified every time I post a new video. Okay, so I know how it goes. I've seen it countless times before. You have a vacancy, you dust off the job description, you post it online in a bunch of different places, and then you wait for these awesome, wonderful candidates to apply. Unfortunately, what you find is a list of potentially hundreds of mediocre or unqualified applicants applying for your job. And you think to yourself, where are all these wonderful candidates that I know are out there? Well, if you stick around until the end of the video, I'm going to equip you with 3 things that you can do to ensure that you are attracting that creme de la creme of candidates in your industry. But first, let's address a myth. And here's what I've heard. As a small business, you are competing for talent with the big dogs. And unfortunately, you just can't compete in terms of pay and benefits and all the other stuff that big companies have. And so you have to settle for mediocre candidates. That is not true. The truth is that small businesses simply don't do a good enough job of marketing themselves in this candidate marketplace. When top talent out there doesn't even know that you exist, let alone how wonderful you are, and make no mistake, you do have a lot to offer candidates, even the topmost people. And if they don't even know that, then how are they going to apply for your job? We're going to talk about how to make yourself more marketable, but first, I want to talk about defining what your ideal employee looks like. This is a crucial step that most leaders miss, no matter large organization, small company, whatever. Because here's the thing, if you don't know who you want to even attract, how are you going to know when you found them, right? So much like in business, we have to define our ideal client before we start marketing to them, before we start figuring what their pain points are, what their desires are. So it's no different in the job marketplace. You have to know who your ideal employee is before you can go out there and try and attract them, before you can go out and try and explain to them what you have to offer that meets their desires in an employer. Okay, so here are 3 things that you need to define when you're creating this ideal employee persona. Number 1, what are their skills, expertise, experience, education? What do they need to have before they join your organization? We're not going to get into details of like how much and how detailed and how much experience and expertise they need to have. At the end of the day, for every role that you're hiring, you need to figure out this ideal employee. So number 1 is education, experience, expertise. Number 2 is what are their values? And if you missed my video last week where I talked about the vision, mission, value, and core values, you can check it out up top here somewhere. But in it, I talk about how to define your own values. So when you're defining your ideal employees, or when you are trying to attract your ideal employee should at least share most of your core values and certainly shouldn't have any values that are like a non-negotiable for you. And number 3, you need to figure out what their work style is, because ultimately you can teach skills and you can teach expertise and you can train them on a whole bunch of stuff, but their work ethic and their work style is something that's innate. Sure, after a while you could probably condition them to work a certain way, but that's a lot of effort. Ideally, your ideal employee should come equipped already with those work habits and ethics and work style that matches how you and your organization work. Okay, now that you've got that down pat, let's move on to the main thing, your employee value proposition. Now, I did a whole video talking about the whys and whats of employee value proposition, and you can access it from up here somewhere. But essentially, an employee value proposition is really your marketing pitch to this ideal employee. Now, this is where a lot of business owners, small business owners get hung up, right? You do not need to have the best salary, the best benefits, the best anything really. You don't need to have napping pods, and you don't need to have catered lunch and breakfast and all of that stuff. What you need to be able to convey to your ideal employee is how work happens in your organization. What will they experience when they arrive on their first day and for many years, hopefully, to come? Within your employee value proposition, I want you to share what your company's vision is, what your company's mission is, and what your core values are. Because, and like I said before, you want to attract ideal employees whose values match yours. So when a candidate sees that their values are matched in a job posting or in a marketing video on what the company is all about, I will feel compelled to apply. Talk about what it's like to progress in their career in your organization. So the one thing that I find small businesses have that larger companies will never be able to give employees is the ability for ambitious, hardworking people to work on multiple different things within their jobs. So in a large organization, you're essentially stuck in a little box. In a smaller company, you have the ability to work on several different things, and for a certain type of person, that is really very appealing. The problem is that if I don't know that you're offering all this stuff, and as soon as I read that or hear that, I don't get the sense that I want to be part of that, then I'm not going to apply for the job. So it's really simple. You have to communicate the best parts about working at your company and talk about that one thing that you have that no other employer has. I know that you have this quality. You just have to dig deep and figure out what it is. And finally, once you have your employee value proposition all drawn out, my suggestion is to share it everywhere and share it in many different mediums. So, put it as part of your job postings. Create a video. It doesn't have to be fancy. You just, you and maybe a couple of other of your employees talking about what it's like to work there. When people see things in visually in video format, it makes it so much more relatable and so much more convincing, to be honest. So share everywhere. Share on your LinkedIn. Each one of your employees share on their LinkedIn. Share, like I said, share on every job posting. When you have profiles on these various job boards like Indeed and any of the applicant tracking systems, share it there too. Share it everywhere and anywhere that your ideal employee will see it. I go over the ideal employee and employee value proposition in a lot more detail in my signature program, High Performance Culture Academy. I give you tools and templates and inspiration, all kinds of things to help you create that EVP. If you want to see if we're a right fit as a program for you, then the link to book a call with us is in the description box below. Now, I want you to comment below and tell me, what is that one thing that sets you apart from every other employer in your industry? Once you implement this, I know that you'll start to get those quality candidates applying for your jobs. And so next week, we continue with this 4-part series, and we're going to talk about how to select the best employee from all of those wonderful candidates that you have on your plate. If you missed my first video in this series around the vision, mission, and values, you can catch it here. Also, I encourage you to go and watch this video on the employee value proposition to get more out of that. That's it for today. Thank you very much for joining. If you haven't hit the like button yet, please make sure you hit the like button. It really does help for other people to see the content as well. And also come back same time, same place next week.